Imagine driving down a desolate road in the dead of night, your headlights slicing through the thick fog. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the darkness, pale, transparent, and moving against the wind. You slam on the brakes, but the figure vanishes before you can react. What would you do? Tonight, we venture into the eerie heart of the UK's most haunted highways, where every mile is steeped in ghostly encounters and unsettling mysteries. From phantom vehicles that follow you in the rearview mirror to the chilling, vanishing hitchhikers who appear on lonely stretches of road, these highways have become infamous for the inexplicable. People who have dared to drive these cursed roads report strange, unsettling experiences, visions of figures that appear out of nowhere, phantom sounds that leave you frozen in fear, and an overwhelming sense of being watched by something or someone just beyond the edge of your headlights. Tonight, we will uncover the chilling history behind these roads, exploring the ghostly figures, mysterious noises, and eerie sightings that have terrified travelers for years. Could you survive the night on these haunted roads? Stay with us, because you won't want to miss what lies ahead. The terrifying stories and unexplained events are about to unfold, and you might wish you never asked what would happen if you saw a ghost on the road. Haunted Road Number 1. A75 Kinmount Strait, Dumfries and Galloway, Scotland. We begin our journey with one of Scotland's most haunted roads, the A75, known as Kinmount Strait. This quiet, seemingly innocent stretch of highway is anything but ordinary. Known for its eerie reputation, it has become infamous for paranormal encounters that continue to terrorize travelers to this day. Kinmount Strait stretches through Dumfries and Galloway, an area with a long history of bloodshed and loss. From ancient battles to tragic accidents, the road has been the scene of numerous untimely deaths. This dark past, coupled with its lonely and desolate feel, has contributed to the eerie atmosphere that surrounds it. Though the haunting has likely been going on for centuries, it became widely recognized in the 20th century. Legends speak of restless spirits, soldiers, travelers, and even animals, forever trapped in the fog and shadows of Kinmount Strait. One of the most chilling stories involves a phantom beast. A family traveling late at night saw a dark, glowing-eyed creature appear out of nowhere. As they sped toward it, the beast leapt onto their car's bonnet, its claws scraping violently against the windshield. Then, in an instant, it vanished, leaving the family terrified and speechless. Other reports tell of ghostly vehicles that appear in the rearview mirror, only to vanish before a collision can occur. Drivers also speak of spectral figures, shadowy shapes that suddenly appear along the roadside, disappearing as quickly as they arrive. On top of these ghostly sightings, travelers report sudden, unexplained drops in temperature and strange noises, whispers carried on the wind, and distant footsteps that seem to echo from nowhere. Some have even captured eerie voices on their cars' audio systems, EVPs that remain unexplained. Imagine driving through dense fog, the headlights illuminating only a few feet ahead, while the rest of the road disappears into the mist. The trees lining the road seem to sway unnaturally, casting long, dark shadows that seem to move with a life of their own. Kinmount Strait has earned its place as one of Scotland's most haunted roads, but the stories don't stop here. Up next, we venture down another infamous road where ghostly figures and strange phenomena will leave you questioning what's real. Stay with us, because the journey is just beginning. Haunted Road Number 2, A666, the Devil's Highway, Bolton, Lancashire, England. Next, we travel to the A666, better known as the Devil's Highway in Bolton, Lancashire. The name alone sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it? But it's not just the name that makes this road so chilling, it's the eerie encounters that have plagued those brave enough to drive it. The number 666 is infamous for its association with evil and dark forces. In Christianity, it's often referred to as the number of the beast, a symbol of the devil himself. On this road, the number's sinister reputation appears to manifest. Since the road was given the nickname the Devil's Highway, it has become notorious for paranormal activity that defies explanation. It's as if the very energy of the place is tied to the dark connotations of its name, drawing in something malevolent. Travelers have reported seeing shadowy figures darting across the road, only to disappear before a collision can occur. The most disturbing sightings are of a hooded figure standing ominously in the middle of the road. As drivers approach, the figure doesn't move. No sign of fear, no sign of life, just a dark silhouette that vanishes as soon as they get too close. But it's not just the figures that haunt this road. Many drivers have reported a suffocating feeling of being watched, a sensation so overwhelming it sends chills down their spine and makes them feel as though something is lurking just beyond their sight. One driver in particular was traveling down the A666 on a quiet evening, the headlights illuminating the foggy road ahead. As they neared the notorious stretch, they saw a tall figure in a dark hood, standing motionless in the middle of the road. Thinking it was just a person who might need help, they slowed down, but as they approached, the figure didn't flinch. In that moment, a wave of dread washed over the driver, like an invisible force pressing against their chest. The closer they got, the more intense the feeling became, until just moments before reaching the figure, it vanished without a trace. No movement, no sound, just emptiness. Shaken to the core, the driver sped away, the eerie feeling lingering long after they had left the road behind. The A666, the Devil's Highway, lives up to its name, with every corner hiding something dark and unexplained. But this is only the beginning. We've ventured down one terrifying road, but ahead lies another that is equally as chilling, where ghostly encounters will leave you questioning the very nature of reality. Stay with us. Our journey is far from over. Haunted Road, number 3, B3212. Dartmoor's Devil's Elbow, Devon, England. Now, we head to Dartmoor's Devil's Elbow, a road that twists and turns through the eerie and mist-covered moors of Devon. Known for its haunting beauty, this stretch of road is more than just a scenic drive. It's a place where eerie forces are said to take control of vehicles, forcing those who travel it into terrifying encounters with the unknown. Dartmoor is steeped in ancient folklore, a land of myths and legends that stretch back centuries. Tales of spirits, dark creatures, and supernatural forces have haunted these moors for generations. The Devil's Elbow itself, an unnervingly sharp bend in the road, has long been associated with these stories. Local legends tell of the devil himself, who is said to have cursed this area long ago. It's a place where the veil between the living and the dead is believed to be thin, where unseen forces lurk just beyond the fog, ready to make their presence known to anyone brave enough to pass through. The most infamous paranormal phenomenon here is the legend of the hairy hands. These invisible, malevolent forces are said to seize control of drivers' vehicles, yanking the steering wheel violently from their hands, causing them to lose control and veer off the road. But it's not just the forceful gripping of the wheel that terrorizes those who pass through. There's also the overwhelming sense of dread that washes over drivers as they approach the elbow, a sense that something unseen is watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. Reports of strange, unsettling sounds in the night are also common, whispers that come from nowhere, footsteps that echo in the stillness, and the creaking of unseen doors opening and closing in the dark. It's as though the very road itself is alive, breathing with a sinister energy, waiting for the next victim to test its curse. One particularly chilling account comes from a driver who had driven the B3212 many times before, but nothing could prepare them for what they experienced one fateful night. As they navigated the winding road, they reached the dreaded Devil's Elbow. It was then that the temperature seemed to plummet, and an intense feeling of unease washed over them. Suddenly, the steering wheel jerked violently to the left, as if something or someone was gripping it with great force. The driver struggled, their hands frozen, trying to regain control, but the invisible force was relentless. Their heart raced as they fought to keep the car steady. And just as suddenly as it began, the grip released, leaving the driver shaken, pale, and unable to speak for several minutes. When they finally gathered their wits and looked around, the road was empty, the fog rolling silently across the moors. But the dread, that lingered long after they drove away. Dartmoor's Devil's Elbow holds its secrets, and many who have passed through are never quite the same. But as the fog thickens and the shadows draw closer, we move on to our next haunted road, a place where the spirits have yet to find peace, and the past refuses to stay buried. Stay with us, for what lies ahead will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the supernatural. Haunted Road number 4, Platt Lane, Lancashire, England. Next, we venture into the quiet lanes of Lancashire, where a haunting presence lingers along Platt Lane, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seems disturbingly thin. As night falls, travellers along this stretch of road are often met with an unsettling sight. A woman in white, walking alone, seemingly doomed to wander the road forever. But her presence is not the only thing that haunts this lane. It's the chilling sensation that comes with encountering her, a feeling that something far darker is watching. Platt Lane, tucked away in the rural countryside of Lancashire, may seem peaceful, but its quiet exterior hides a long history of tragedy. The most prominent legend connected to this road is the story of a woman who met a tragic end in a car accident many years ago. It is said that, ever since, her spirit has been doomed to walk the lane at night, her presence marked by a strange coldness in the air. Some believe that the accident that claimed her life was no accident at all, and that her restless spirit now haunts Platt Lane, seeking justice for a fate that was never fully explained. Many drivers who have passed through Platt Lane at night have reported a sudden drop in temperature, followed by the unsettling feeling of being watched. It's at this point that the woman in white is said to appear. Descriptions vary. Some say she is seen walking slowly, her head down, wearing a long white gown. Others claim she is seen standing in the middle of the road, staring blankly ahead. No matter the appearance, her presence always brings an overwhelming sense of dread, as if her sorrowful gaze is piercing straight into your soul. Most chilling of all is the feeling that she's not alone. There have been several accounts of people experiencing strange noises, the sound of footsteps behind them, breathing in their ear, and even an unnerving whisper, faint but distinct. And just when you think you're safe, the woman in white disappears without a trace, vanishing into the night as if she was never there. One particularly chilling encounter took place on a moonless night. A local driver, familiar with the area, was travelling down Platt Lane after a long day. As he passed through the narrow road, he noticed a figure in the distance, a woman in white, walking slowly along the edge of the road. Thinking nothing of it, he drove closer. But as he neared, he felt an inexplicable chill fill the car. The temperature dropped rapidly, and the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. The woman in white did not move. She simply stood there, staring at him, her face hidden in shadow. Unsure of what to do, the driver slowed the car down, ready to offer assistance. But as he got even closer, the woman vanished. No footsteps, no movement, just the fading cold air. He sat frozen, unable to move, the strange feeling of being watched still lingering long after the encounter. When he finally gathered the courage to drive away, he couldn't shake the feeling that the woman had never been truly alone, and that something darker had been with her all along. Platt Lane remains a place where the past refuses to stay buried, and the restless spirit of the woman in white continues to haunt the road. But as we leave this unsettling encounter behind, we head next to another road that's no stranger to ghostly apparitions, where spirits emerge from the darkness and the unknown waits at every bend. Stay with us, the journey has only just begun. Haunted Road number 5, Stockbridge Bypass, Sheffield, England. Our next stop takes us to the Eerie Stockbridge Bypass in Sheffield, a road that's known for its spectral hitchhikers. If you're driving down this stretch of highway late at night, don't be surprised if you find yourself picking up a passenger who might not be quite so human. From vanishing travellers to ghostly figures in the woods, Stockbridge Bypass has a reputation for leaving people with more than just a creepy story to tell. The Stockbridge Bypass, a relatively quiet stretch of road in Sheffield, has seen its fair share of tragedies over the years. While it might seem like an ordinary road on the surface, its history is filled with strange and unexplained events. The bypass has long been known for its haunting reputation, especially when it comes to mysterious hitchhikers. Over the years, locals and travelers alike have shared stories of eerie encounters that suggest the spirits of the past have never quite left this road. It's a place where the veil between the living and the dead is said to be thin, and the line between reality and the supernatural seems to blur with every passing car. One of the most chilling stories surrounding the Stockbridge Bypass involves a ghostly hitchhiker, a young woman who appears along the road late at night. Drivers who stop to offer her a ride often report a strange feeling of unease, as if something is off. She's described as a young woman, sometimes appearing lost, her face pale and her eyes distant. But the most disturbing part? She always vanishes before the car reaches its destination, disappearing without a trace, as if she was never there at all. And it's not just the vanishing woman that haunts this road. There's also the figure of an old man, seen walking alone along the edge of the bypass, only to disappear into the surrounding woods. It's said that drivers have stopped to check if he's okay, only to find the woods empty, as if the man had never existed. One of the most chilling encounters took place one foggy night when a driver, unfamiliar with the area, was driving along the bypass. As he neared a stretch of road, he saw a young woman standing by the side of the road, her thumb raised. Thinking she needed help, he stopped and offered her a ride. She got in quietly, not saying much, just staring out the window. As they drove along, the driver couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. His car began to feel unnaturally cold, and the air seemed thick with tension. As he approached a bend in the road, he glanced over at the woman, but she was gone. There was no sign of her in the back seat. He slammed on the brakes, his heart racing, but the car was empty. In the fog, the young woman had vanished without a sound, leaving him terrified and questioning what he had just experienced. The Stockbridge bypass has left many shaken, but this is just one of many roads across the UK where the dead seem to have unfinished business. What will we encounter next on our journey? Stay with us as we continue down another haunted road, where the past refuses to stay buried and the spirits are always lurking in the shadows. Haunted Road number 6, a 541, the Mould to Denbigh Road, Wales. On the Mould to Denbigh Road in Wales, a ghostly woman in white has been reported for years. She's a spectral figure that appears on the side of the road late at night, vanishing without a trace just moments after being offered a ride. But this isn't just an ordinary hitchhiker. Her presence leaves behind a chilling sense of unease that lingers long after the encounter. The Mould to Denbigh Road winds through the rural landscapes of Wales, a place with a dark and eerie history. The road is lined with old cottages, dense trees, and isolated stretches, making it the perfect setting for ghostly legends. For centuries, it's been the site of strange occurrences, but it's the phantom woman in white that has captured the most attention. She is said to have been a young woman who met a tragic fate on this road many years ago, and since then, her restless spirit has been seen by numerous drivers passing through. According to reports, the woman in white appears at night, standing by the side of the road with her thumb raised, seeking a ride. Those who stop to help often describe her as looking lost, with a pale face and eyes filled with sadness. However, the moment they begin driving again, something eerie happens. The woman vanishes, fading into the mist like a wisp of smoke. No trace of her remains, and drivers are left questioning whether what they saw was real or something far more sinister. One driver, on a dark, foggy night, recalled seeing the woman in white as he made his way down the road. Thinking she was in trouble, he stopped and offered her a ride. She climbed into the back seat, silently nodding in thanks. As the car moved forward, the driver glanced in the rearview mirror, but the woman was gone. No sign of her in the back seat, no sound of the door opening. He slammed on the brakes, but by then, the car was alone. The woman had disappeared without a sound, leaving behind nothing but the chill in the air and a haunting sense of dread. The Mould to Denbigh Road is just one of the many haunted highways in the UK. But as we leave this eerie encounter behind, there's another road awaiting, one where the spirits have even darker tales to tell. Stay with us, for the journey through these haunted roads has only just begun. Haunted Road number 7, a 16, Ludborough Drove, Lincolnshire, England. Ludborough Drove in Lincolnshire is said to be haunted by the spirit of a young woman whose tragic death has left her forever bound to this lonely stretch of road. As the fog rolls in at night, it's not uncommon for drivers to report seeing her walking along the roadside, her figure barely visible in the mist, accompanied by the eerie sound of phantom horse hooves. The haunting of Ludborough Drove dates back to a tragic accident many years ago when a young woman riding in a horse-drawn carriage met her untimely end on this very road. Some say the horses spooked, the carriage overturned, and she was thrown into the ditch. The crash was fatal, and since then, her restless spirit has been seen walking the road, forever seeking something, perhaps a way to escape the fate that claimed her life. Many have reported seeing the young woman's spectral figure along the roadside, often appearing to be walking aimlessly in the mist, as though lost in time. What makes her appearance even more chilling, however, is the sound that often accompanies her. The phantom hooves of horses, echoing through the silence, as if the carriage is still travelling behind her. The sound draws closer, but when drivers stop or turn to look, there's no carriage, no horses, just the cold, haunting presence of the woman who disappears as quickly as she came. One driver, passing through Ludborough Drove on a quiet evening, heard the sound of hooves as they approached a bend in the road. The sound grew louder, more distinct, until it seemed right behind him. But when he turned to look, he saw a figure in the mist, a woman dressed in a flowing gown, walking along the roadside. His heart raced as he glanced back at the road ahead, but when he looked again, she was gone. The phantom hooves had stopped, the air had chilled, and all that remained was an overwhelming sense of dread, as though the spirit had never truly left. Haunted Road, number 8, Bluebell Hill, Kent, England. Bluebell Hill is haunted by the tragic spirit of a bride who died on her wedding day. Her story is one of heartbreak, and her restless soul is said to wander the road, forever caught in the moment of her untimely death. Travellers on this road at night report seeing her ghostly figure, and in some cases, even feeling her chilling presence in the back seat of their car. The tragedy of Bluebell Hill dates back to the 1960s, when a young bride, excited for her wedding day, was involved in a horrific car accident on the hill. On her way to the ceremony, her vehicle swerved off the road and crashed, ending her life before she could marry the man she loved. Since that fateful day, her spirit has been linked to the road, forever reliving the moments before her untimely death. Numerous drivers have reported seeing a woman in a white wedding dress appear in their headlights as they approach Bluebell Hill, but when they slow down to offer help, the bride vanishes, only to reappear moments later in the back seat, silent and cold. Her presence is accompanied by an overwhelming sense of sorrow, and a cold chill fills the air, leaving those who encounter her feeling as though they are trapped in a moment of grief that they cannot escape. One driver, travelling late one evening, reported a terrifying encounter on Bluebell Hill. As he rounded a bend, he saw a woman standing by the roadside, dressed in a beautiful white gown. Thinking she might be in distress, he slowed down and offered her a ride. She climbed into the back seat without a word, and as they drove on, the driver glanced in the rearview mirror. To his horror, he saw the woman's face, pale and sorrowful, staring at him from the back seat. When he turned around to speak to her, she was gone, vanishing without a trace, leaving him in a stunned silence, the eerie feeling of her presence lingering long after. Bluebell Hill serves as a chilling reminder that some spirits cannot move on. The bride's tragic fate has left her forever bound to this road, haunting those who dare to drive it at night. If you ever find yourself on Bluebell Hill, be wary, because once you see her, you may not be able to escape the sorrow she carries with her. Haunted Road, number 9, a 1101, the Elveden Crossroads, Suffolk, England. At the Elveden Crossroads in Suffolk, a shadowy figure haunts the intersection. Drivers passing through this lonely stretch of road late at night often report seeing a dark, looming figure standing in the middle of the road, only to vanish into thin air as they approach. But this ghostly presence is not a modern phenomenon. It's tied to a chilling event from centuries ago. The legend of the Elveden Crossroads dates back to the 17th century, when a notorious highwayman named Tom was hanged at this very intersection. Tom, a thief and killer who plagued the area, was captured and executed publicly as a warning to others. His life ended in a violent and brutal manner, and it is believed that his restless spirit lingers here at the site of his execution, forever trapped in the place where he met his grisly fate. Over the years, numerous witnesses have reported seeing a shadowy figure standing in the middle of the crossroads. The figure is always described as tall and dark, with no discernible features. As drivers approach, the figure doesn't move, just stands there, silent, ominous, and waiting. But when the car gets too close, the figure vanishes without a trace, leaving the road eerily empty. Many believe that this is the spirit of the highwayman, still haunting the place where he died, looking for revenge or perhaps simply reliving his final moments. One night, a driver was making his way down the A1101 when he saw the figure standing in the middle of the road. The headlights illuminated the figure clearly. Tall, dressed in what appeared to be old, ragged clothes. Thinking it was a person in distress, the driver slowed down, preparing to stop. But as he got closer, the figure didn't move. It just stood there, staring ahead. At the last moment, the driver braked hard, but when he looked again, the figure had vanished. No sign of anyone, no footprints in the dirt. It was as though the man had never been there, yet the eerie feeling of being watched remained. The Elveden Crossroads remains a place where the past refuses to stay buried. Tom's spirit, whether seeking redemption or simply trapped in time, continues to haunt the intersection. If you find yourself passing through this haunted crossroads, be prepared for an encounter that might leave you questioning whether what you saw was real or something far darker. Haunted Road number 10. A 423, the Southam Road, Warwickshire, England. The Southam Road in Warwickshire is known for its mysterious phantom cyclist, a spectral figure who appears on the road out of nowhere, only to vanish into thin air. Late at night, drivers have been startled by the eerie sight of a cyclist pedaling furiously through the darkness, only to be left questioning whether what they saw was real or the manifestation of something far more sinister. The Southam Road has long had an eerie reputation, with many locals reporting strange occurrences along this stretch of highway. The most unsettling of these tales involves a ghostly cyclist who is often seen riding along the road late at night, vanishing when approached. Some believe the cyclist is the spirit of a person who died in a cycling accident many years ago, while others think the figure represents something far older, tied to the road's ancient, shadowy past. Regardless of the origin, the phantom cyclist remains a haunting presence on this lonely stretch of road. Multiple reports describe a lone cyclist dressed in dark clothing, riding swiftly along the road in the dead of night. The sound of the bicycle's wheels spinning echoes through the silence, and the figure can often be seen pedaling furiously as if in a race, only to disappear just moments later. Drivers who've encountered this spectral figure have reported that no matter how close they get, the cyclist always vanishes, fading into thin air as if swallowed by the darkness. One particularly chilling encounter took place on a cold autumn night. A driver was traveling down the A423 when they saw the figure of a cyclist ahead. At first, they thought it was just another late-night traveler, but as they got closer, the cyclist didn't appear to move in the normal way. The rider was clad in dark, almost indistinguishable clothing, and the eerie sound of the wheels spinning grew louder as they approached. Suddenly, an icy chill filled the car, and the driver, feeling unnerved, glanced in the rearview mirror. The cyclist had disappeared. There was no sign of them on the road, no bike, no tracks. Only the cold air remained, leaving the driver to wonder if the ghostly rider had ever truly been there at all. The Southam Road is not just a quiet highway. It's a place where the past lingers and the boundaries between the living and the dead blur. If you find yourself traveling this road late at night, be wary. You might just encounter the phantom cyclist, racing against time, vanishing before your very eyes. Haunted Road number 11, a 628, the Woodhead Pass, Peak District, England. The Woodhead Pass in the Peak District is notorious for its phantom figures and ghostly lorries that seem to materialize out of the thick, ominous fog. Drivers who venture down this high-altitude pass often report a chilling sense of isolation, as if they've entered another realm, one where the living and the dead coexist in the shadows. The Woodhead Pass has long been a site of eerie legends, its high-altitude location surrounded by mist and a sense of foreboding. Historically, this road was an important route, and many tales tell of travelers lost to the harsh conditions of the area, their lives claimed by accidents or simply by the vast emptiness of the pass. The isolation of this stretch of road, combined with its hauntingly misty landscape, has given rise to countless ghost stories over the years. But it's the phantom lorries and shadowy figures that have made the Woodhead Pass infamous in the world of the paranormal. Reports of phantom lorries, seemingly driving at high speeds, appear out of nowhere and vanish just as quickly, often startling drivers and causing them to swerve in fear. These ghostly vehicles are said to be the spirits of long-forgotten travelers, still making their way along the road. Alongside these phantom lorries are the shadowy figures, often seen walking along the roadside in the thick fog. These figures move in and out of the mist with no clear purpose and disappear as soon as you approach, leaving behind only the unsettling sensation that something or someone is watching. One particularly chilling encounter occurred during a late-night drive through the Woodhead Pass. A driver, familiar with the road, noticed the fog rolling in thick and fast, obscuring the view ahead. As they rounded a bend, they saw what appeared to be a group of figures walking along the roadside, their forms barely visible through the mist. The figures were tall, dressed in dark clothing, and moving slowly but steadily. As the driver got closer, the figures faded into the fog, disappearing entirely without a trace. Terrified, the driver continued on, but the eerie feeling of being watched lingered long after the figures had vanished. The Woodhead Pass is not a road to be taken lightly. Its ghostly lorries, shadowy figures, and oppressive fog create an atmosphere where the past refuses to stay buried. If you ever find yourself driving through this haunted pass, keep your eyes peeled and your mind open, because in the thick fog, anything can appear and vanish in the blink of an eye. Haunted Road, number 12, B1257. The Stokesley to Helmsley Road, North Yorkshire, England. On this winding road, a young woman who was murdered nearby is said to haunt the area. The B1257, stretching from Stokesley to Helmsley, has become infamous for the spectral figure of a woman seen standing by the roadside, her face pale and full of sorrow. What draws her to this road, and why does she remain? Her tragic story is just one of many dark tales surrounding this eerie stretch of highway. The story of the haunted woman begins with a tragic murder in the area. Years ago, a young woman was brutally killed near this road, her life stolen in an act of violence that has never been fully explained. Some say her murder was the result of a robbery gone wrong, while others believe it was the work of someone she trusted. The case remains unsolved, and the anguish of her untimely death seems to have bound her spirit to the road, forever trapped in the place where her life was cruelly taken. Over the years, drivers have reported seeing a woman standing along the roadside, often in the dead of night, her face pale and full of sorrow. She appears out of nowhere, standing motionless in the dark, staring into the distance, as if waiting for something or someone. Those who've stopped to offer help describe an overwhelming sense of sadness. But when they approach, the woman vanishes into the night, leaving no trace behind. Some say she's waiting for justice, others believe she's forever searching for peace. One driver recounts a chilling encounter on this very road. It was late, the fog thickening around the car as they made their way down the winding path. As they neared a bend, they saw a figure standing on the side of the road. At first, they thought it was just another traveller, but as they got closer, they saw her face, pale and drawn, with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of years of sorrow. The driver slowed down, considering stopping, but before they could reach her, the woman disappeared, fading into the mist without a sound. The driver drove on, but the image of her sad, sorrowful face stayed with them long after they left the road behind. The Stokesley to Helmsley road remains haunted by the tragic spirit of a young woman whose death was never fully avenged. If you ever find yourself travelling this road at night, be wary of the figure who might appear on the side of the road. She may be waiting for someone or something to finally bring her the peace she's been searching for. Haunted Road number 13, A3, the Hindhead Tunnel, Surrey, England. The Hindhead Tunnel, one of Surrey's most notorious landmarks, has a reputation for being haunted by a woman in distress and the eerie sounds of old horse-drawn carts. Beneath the surface of this modern tunnel lies a dark history, and many who pass through it at night find themselves confronted by something far more sinister than just the rush of traffic. Before the tunnel was built, the area around Hindhead was known for its isolated and often treacherous terrain. For centuries, it was a popular route for horse-drawn carriages travelling between London and Portsmouth. But with the construction of the Hindhead Tunnel in 2011, something ancient and unsettling was disturbed. The construction process unearthed old burial grounds and relics, and many locals believe the tunnel's creation awakened spirits long forgotten, tethered to the land for centuries. Among the most chilling of these tales is the apparition of a woman in distress, seen inside the tunnel, usually near midnight. Witnesses describe her as a figure in period clothing, walking aimlessly with her head down, as if searching for something or someone. But it's not just her ghostly presence that disturbs travellers. The sound of old horse-drawn carts, their wooden wheels creaking, can sometimes be heard echoing through the tunnel, despite the fact that no carts have been used there for decades. The faint clattering of hooves seems to reverberate off the tunnel walls, leaving drivers with a lingering sense of dread. One particularly chilling account comes from a driver who had travelled through the Hindhead Tunnel late one night. As they drove through, they heard the unmistakable sound of creaking wheels, followed by the soft clip-clop of horses' hooves, growing louder and louder. The sound seemed to surround them, but when they glanced in their rearview mirror, they saw nothing. Then, just as they neared the tunnel's end, the eerie silence was shattered by the image of a woman standing in the middle of the road. She was dressed in old-fashioned clothes, her face hidden in shadow. The driver slammed on the brakes, but as they stared ahead, the figure vanished into thin air, leaving only the faint echo of the horse-drawn carts. The unsettling silence returned, but the dread lingered, gripping the driver as they exited the tunnel. The Hindhead tunnel holds more than just the weight of its modern construction. It carries the spirits of a forgotten time. Whether it's the tragic woman searching for something lost, or the ghostly sounds of horse-drawn carts, the tunnel seems to be a place where the past never fully lets go. If you ever find yourself driving through, be warned. There are some things that remain buried in the dark, waiting to make their presence known. Haunted Road, number 14 of 15. The Ermine Street, Lincolnshire, England. Ermine Street, an ancient Roman road, is haunted by the spirits of Roman soldiers. What was once a vital highway in Roman Britain now serves as a path for the restless souls who marched along it centuries ago. As you travel down this historic road, don't be surprised if you hear the distant sound of clanking armor or catch sight of shadowy figures walking in the mist. Ermine Street, which dates back to the Roman Empire, was originally built as a major military road that connected the north and south of Britain. Stretching from London to York, it was once used by Roman soldiers to travel, transport goods, and maintain control over the region. Today, it's still used as a modern road, but its deep history seems to have left a permanent mark. Many believe that the spirits of the soldiers who once marched along this route have never truly left. Their spectral presence has been reported for centuries, and the sound of their footsteps can still be heard echoing in the silence. One of the most common ghostly occurrences reported on Ermine Street is the sound of marching soldiers. Drivers and walkers alike have heard the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps and the clanking of armor as if a full Roman legion is passing by. But when they turn to look, nothing is there. The marching continues as if carried on the wind, filling the air with a sense of ancient authority and unrelenting march of time. Some say the spirits are still guarding the road, while others believe they are trapped, forever reliving their military duties from centuries ago. One driver, traveling through Ermine Street on a quiet evening, recounted a chilling encounter. As they passed through a particularly desolate stretch of road, they began to hear the distinct sound of clinking armor. At first they thought it was the sound of something in the car, but then it grew louder and clearer, as if soldiers were marching alongside them. When the driver pulled over to investigate, the sounds ceased abruptly. Looking around, there was nothing but the empty road stretching out in front of them. No soldiers, no sign of life, just the cold, lingering sense that they were not alone, and the unsettling feeling that something ancient still lingered in the air. Ermine Street may be just another road on the map, but those who pass through it can't help but feel that the spirits of the past still walk its length. But as we leave the ghosts of Roman soldiers behind, we move forward, heading toward another road where spirits linger in the shadows, forever bound to a path they can never leave. Haunted Road, number 15, a 361, The Devil's Chair, Devon, England. The Devil's Chair near Tiverton is said to be a place of dark legends and ghostly figures. Known for its eerie atmosphere and sinister reputation, the A361 has become infamous for the strange happenings surrounding the chair, an ancient rock formation that seems to draw the spirits of the past. Late at night, travelers passing through this area often report seeing shadowy figures lurking in the woods, accompanied by the chilling sound of whispers carried on the wind. The myth of the Devil's Chair has been around for centuries. The formation itself, a large weathered stone that some believe resembles a throne, has long been tied to local legends. Some say it's the seat of the devil himself, a place where dark rituals were once performed, while others claim that the chair marks a spot where evil spirits are trapped, forever bound to the land. The area surrounding the chair is steeped in mystery, with stories of haunted encounters stretching back for generations. Whether you believe in the legends or not, the chair's eerie presence has been enough to send shivers down the spines of those who venture too close. Numerous reports tell of shadowy figures moving among the trees near the Devil's Chair. The figures are often described as dark, indistinct shapes creeping along the edge of the woods or lurking just out of sight. Sometimes people hear strange whispers, faint voices that seem to come from nowhere, calling out to those nearby. The most unsettling accounts involve those who sit near the chair, only to feel an overwhelming sense of dread, an oppressive weight in the air, as if something invisible is watching them, waiting for them to make a move. One driver who passed through the area late one evening had a chilling experience that he'll never forget. As he drove along the A361, the night was unusually quiet, the woods thick with fog. As he approached the Devil's Chair, he noticed something moving in the trees. At first, he thought it was an animal, but the shapes were too tall and too human-like. He slowed down, squinting into the fog, and then he saw them, shadowy figures, walking between the trees. At that moment, the driver's car seemed to grow colder, the whispers growing louder, though no one was around. His heart raced as he watched the figures move closer, and just as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished into the mist, leaving him with a profound sense of unease that lingered long after he had passed the area. The Devil's Chair is a place where the past refuses to rest. The whispers, the shadowy figures, and the dark energy that surrounds the chair leave an unsettling impression on all who dare to approach. If you find yourself traveling this road, keep your eyes open and your wits sharp. The Devil's Chair has a way of drawing people in, and once you've been touched by its presence, you may never feel truly alone again. From vanishing hitchhikers to spectral soldiers, the UK's haunted highways have captivated and terrified drivers for generations. Each of these eerie roads has its own dark history, and the spirits that roam them continue to make their presence known. Whether it's in the form of ghostly figures, mysterious sounds, or sudden drops in temperature. What makes these roads so chilling is the fact that they still hold onto the echoes of the past, forever haunted by those who once traveled them. What would you do if you encountered one of these ghostly figures? Would you stop to help, or would you race away in fear? Let us know in the comments if you've had any creepy experiences on these haunted roads. Your own encounters might just be as chilling as the ones we've shared. If you enjoyed this spine-chilling journey, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more terrifying stories from the road. And don't forget to share your ghostly encounters with us below. Who knows, your story could be the next one featured. Stay safe, and remember, some roads are better left unexplored.